Captain Jake Mitchell sat in his cockpit, watching the red sun of Talis Prime sink below the horizon. His ship, the Wanderer, had landed 3 days ago on this desert world for emergency repairs. The hyperdrive had blown out halfway through a routine cargo run, leaving him stranded on a planet that wasn't even supposed to have intelligent life. The databanks were wrong. Jake had spotted them on his second day. Tall figures moving in the distance, humanoid but enormous, at least 12 feet high. They kept their distance, watching him with cautious eyes. He had done the same, focusing on his repairs and rationing his supplies. Water was the problem. His recycling system had failed along with the hyperdrive. He had maybe 5 days of water left, 6 if he pushed it. The repair work was thirsty business under the scorching sun. On the 4th day, she appeared. Jake was underneath the Wanderer, welding a cracked coolant line when he heard the sound. A soft whimper, like an injured animal. He rolled out from under the ship, plasma torch still in hand, and froze. A young alien girl sat 30 meters away, partially hidden behind a rock formation. She was huge, maybe 10 feet tall, even sitting down, with bronze skin that seemed to shimmer in the heat. Her face was humanoid, with large golden eyes that tracked his every movement. She wore simple cloth wrappings, torn and dusty. But what caught Jake's attention was her condition. She was dying of thirst. He could see it in the way her chest heaved, in the cracked texture of her lips, in the desperate way she stared at the water canteen hanging from his belt. Her golden eyes were sunken, rimmed with the telltale signs of severe dehydration. Jake looked at his canteen. 2 liters. Maybe 3 days left for him? He looked back at the girl. Every survival instinct screamed at him to walk away. He was stranded, low on supplies, and she wasn't even his species. The rational choice was obvious. Jake had never been good at rational choices. He stood slowly, hands visible, and unhooked the canteen from his belt. The girl's eyes widened. She tried to stand but collapsed, too weak to rise. Jake approached carefully, stopping a few meters away. Up close, she was even more imposing, even weakened as she was. Her hands alone were the size of dinner plates. He held out the canteen. She stared at him, confusion and suspicion warring in those golden eyes. Jake took a drink himself, then offered it again. Universal language. Safe to drink. Her massive hand trembled as she reached out. Jake placed the canteen in her palm, and it looked like a toy in her grip. She brought it to her lips and drank, and drank, and drank. She drained the entire canteen in 30 seconds. When she finished, tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried to hand back the empty container, but Jake shook his head and pointed to her, then to the canteen. Keep it. She clutched it to her chest like a treasure. Golden eyes locked on him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Then she was gone, vanishing into the rocky terrain with surprising speed for someone who had been near death moments before. Jake walked back to his ship, very aware that he had just reduced his water supply by 1/3. The logical part of his brain cataloged all the ways this might kill him. The rest of him didn't care. He worked through the night, pushing to finish the repairs. By dawn, he had the hyperdrive operational, enough for a short jump to the nearest station. He could make it. Probably. The sun rose over the desert, and Jake was packing the last of his tools when he heard them. Footsteps. Lots of them. He climbed onto the Wanderer's hull and looked out across the desert. His blood went cold. Warriors. Hundreds of them. They emerged from the rock formations like ghosts, tall and armored, carrying weapons that looked like they could punch through his ship's hull. Jake counted quickly. 200. 250. 300. Maybe more. They formed a massive circle around the Wanderer, trapping him completely. Jake's hand moved to his sidearm, then stopped. What was he going to do? shoot 300 giant aliens. That wasn't combat. That was suicide with extra steps. The warriors parted, and 3 figures walked through. 2 were male, massive and scarred, wearing elaborate armor marked with symbols Jake didn't recognize. Between them walked the girl. She looked different now. Clean, healthy, wearing proper clothing. Her bronze skin glowed in the morning light, and those golden eyes were bright and alert. She was royalty. Jake could see it in the way the warriors deferred to her, in the quality of her garments, in the bearing she carried herself with. He had given his last water to a princess. The 3 of them approached the ship. Jake climbed down to meet them, forcing his hands to stay relaxed and visible. Every warrior had weapons trained on him. One wrong move and he'd be dead before he hit the ground. The girl spoke, her voice deep and melodic. Jake's translator chip struggled with the dialect and locked on. "You are the small one who gave water." "Yes," Jake said simply. One of the male warriors, older with a scar across his face, spoke next. "Do you know who she is?" "No. She is Kira, daughter of the High Chief, heir to the Talis tribes." The warrior's expression was unreadable. "She was taken by rivals 3 days ago, dragged into the deep desert to die. We have been searching for her." Jake's stomach dropped. He had stumbled into the middle of a political situation he couldn't begin to understand. The scarred warrior continued. "You are a stranger. You have no bond to our people. You owed her nothing." He paused. "Yet you gave water. Your own water. In the deep desert, where water is life itself." "She was dying," Jake said, double quotes, "yes." The warrior exchanged a glance with Kira. "Many would have let her die. Many would have taken advantage. You did neither." Kira stepped forward. In her hand, she held his canteen and something else. A pendant on a leather cord, marked with the same symbols as the warrior's armor. She spoke again, and the translator rendered her words. "You gave life when you had little to give. This is the greatest gift. By the old laws, by the bonds of water and blood, I name you friend to the Talis people." She placed the pendant around his neck. It hung heavy and warm against his chest. "You will always have water in our lands. You will always have protection. You will always have home." The scarred warrior raised his weapon high. The other 300 warriors did the same, and a great shout went up across the desert. Not a war cry. A celebration. Jake stood there, stunned, as the warriors began to bring forward supplies. Water first, in large vessels that would refill his tanks completely. Then food, preserved and dried. Fuel cells compatible with his ship's systems. Medical supplies, tools, everything he needed and more. "Wait," Jake managed. "This is too much. I just gave her water." Kira smiled, and Jake saw both the frightened girl from yesterday and the princess before him now. "Just water? Small friend, you gave everything you could spare, expecting nothing. You saw someone in need and helped, though it cost you greatly." She gestured to the supplies being loaded. "This is how the Talis answer such gifts. With abundance." The older warrior stepped closer. "The rivals who took her are dealt with. But you, stranger from the sky, you showed honor that even our own people sometimes forget. The High Chief will want to meet you. You will be welcome in our halls. Always." They worked for 2 hours, loading the wanderer with supplies. Jake tried to help, but the warriors wouldn't allow it. He was a guest now, an honored friend. When it was done, Kira approached one final time. She pressed something into his hand. A map, marked with symbols and locations. "Our settlements," she explained. "Any of them will aid you if you return. You need only show the pendant." She hesitated, then added quietly, "Thank you, small friend, for seeing a person, not a princess, for choosing kindness when cruelty would have been easier. Jake pocketed the map. Stay out of the deep desert. She laughed, a sound like bells. I will try. The warriors withdrew, forming an honor guard as Jake climbed into his ship. He sealed the hatch and began the launch sequence, still half convinced this was some kind of fever dream dot as the Wanderer lifted off. Jake looked down at the assembled warriors. 300 strong, all standing at attention. Kira stood at the front, one hand raised in farewell. He had come to this world stranded and alone, expecting nothing but a quick repair and departure. He left with enough supplies for 3 months, a promise of friendship from an entire civilization, and the knowledge that one moment of kindness could change everything. The stars opened up before him as the Melish Wanderer jumped to hyperspace. Jake touched the pendant around his neck, feeling the weight of it. Humanity had a saying, no good deed goes unpunished. The Talis people, it seemed, had a different philosophy.